All right, Nick, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. The Bears obviously hiring Ben Johnson. They have something special going here offensively on the coaching staff, but there's a key string of hires that they've made that we think is really smart. There's a game plan involved, and all of these guys have the same goal in mind. And I think it's going to be something extremely beneficial for the Bears. Really great hires. But before we get to that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, there's a string of really strong hires by the Bears, all aimed at one goal, and that goal is development of young quarterbacks, specifically talking about Caleb Williams. Let's get into the article. We can talk more about all of this on the other side. These are all different excerpts from articles on NBC Sports. It says the Bears are expected to hire Tulane offensive line coach Dan Rushar for the same position, according to multiple reports. He had a long run with the Saints under Sean Payton. Rushar started in New Orleans as a running back coach in 2013 before becoming tight ends in 2015 and offensive line coach from 2016 to 2020. Next up, the Bears hiring Press Taylor as their passing game coordinator. Ian Rappaport of NFL Media reports Taylor spent the past 3 years as the offensive coordinator with the Jaguars, working with Trevor Lawrence under head coach Doug Peterson. He will now work with Caleb Williams under head coach Ben Johnson and offensive coordinator Declan Doyle. And finally, Eric Bieniemy has agreed to terms with the Bears to become the Bears running back coach. Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports reports Bieniemy was with the Chiefs from 2013 to 2022. We all obviously know he worked with Patrick Mahomes as well early on in his career. I think these are three key hires that all have something to do with developing young quarterbacks. I think the Bears have a very concerted effort here. Really great plan roadmap for Caleb Williams. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Bears fans, in the comment section below, talking about coaching hires. Talking about the main one, obviously Ben Johnson, but we're filling out the staff. Who are you the most excited about that isn't Ben Johnson? Which one of these staff members do you think is going to be the most impactful hire for this Bears team? Let us know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about these latest hires for the Bears?
I'm going to give Ben Johnson a lot of credit. He obviously had a lot of success with the Detroit Lions with his offensive play calling, his strategies, X's and O's. But one thing Johnson didn't have to do with the Detroit Lions was develop a young quarterback. They obviously had acquired Jared Goff, who had played a lot of football, had actually been a starting quarterback of a Super Bowl team prior to going to the Lions. So Ben Johnson didn't have to worry about developing an offense that a young quarterback could learn and grow in. Jared Goff already was who he was as a finished NFL product at that point. Caleb Williams is obviously very different. And not only that, not only is he different than Jared Goff, his ceiling, his potential is about 5x more than Jared Goff could ever be. That's nothing against Goff. That just speaks to the level of talent and incredible potential that the Bears have behind center right now. And you can see with these hires and the overall strategy the Bears are using, Ben Johnson specifically is using, he's bringing in coaches that are either going to directly work with Caleb Williams in a style that Williams is familiar with, or bringing in support staff and other position groups that will teach their players in that group how to behave the way Caleb Williams expects. Let's start with the offensive line. So you have Rashard, right? This is a guy who spent 25 plus years mainly as an O-line tight ends coach at the college level. You look at one of the other big hires, they're looking at Ohio State offensive line coach Justin Fry. Those were the two guys Ben Johnson wanted to bring to coach the O-line. Do you think he couldn't find more big name NFL O-line coaches? Of course he could. What's Johnson trying to do? He's trying to bring in an O-line coach to teach offensive linemen how to block they would for a college quarterback, how to block for a guy who played the style of play that Caleb Williams likes to play. And that's not saying Caleb Williams can't adapt to an NFL offensive line and that strategy. Of course, he can. But when you have a special talent, you put him in positions to be successful. You tailor your offense around him. You don't force your system on him. The Washington Commanders are a great example of this. They had a good scheme. Cliff Kingsbury is a very smart guy, but he literally modified his offense and completely constructed it for Jaden Daniels to be successful. And they obviously did a lot of really good things. Daniels had maybe the greatest rookie season we've ever seen. Caleb Williams is going to see that now. The offensive line is going to be specifically coached and taught up to benefit him with the scrambling, the extended plays. It's not going to be a rhythm and cut 3 step, 5 step progression. It's going to be extended blocking. It's going to be fighting, scrapping, not giving up after 3 seconds. That's what we're going to see. You look at a guy like Press Taylor, for example. Taylor's entire coaching career has been about working with young quarterbacks right out of college. With the Eagles, he did it with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, and then did it with Trevor Lawrence with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's all Press Taylor knows, is working with young quarterbacks right out of college, trying to get them adjusted to the NFL game. Great hire by the Bears there. And then finally, you look at Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy, of course, is a guy who was at one point a head coaching favorite target in his own right. He's famous for developing Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Mahomes, Caleb Williams get a lot of similarities. If you look at Mahomes' best statistical seasons, it was when Bieniemy was there in Kansas City. Bieniemy has also spent a year at the college ranks last season. Didn't work out too well for him at UCLA, but he knows the game. He knows where the game of college football is at, so he'll be able to communicate that effectively to Williams. All this is doing right here is allowing Ben Johnson to have his assistants either working directly with Williams, or the players that will block or run routes for Williams put him in positions to be successful. This is a great job. I'm going to say a genius move by Johnson. He could have been very arrogant and cocky and said, Caleb Williams is going to do what I want him to do. We're going to hire a staff like I had in Detroit. Instead, he's taking the smart approach. He's hiring a staff that's best for Williams. Love this. Great start to Johnson's tenure in Chicago.
Yeah, Nick, and I think this is really good. You bring up Jared Goff, and I think I love the comparisons between the two because we talk about it a couple times. We get a little bit of hate for it, but when you look at the Lions offense when Ben Johnson was there, Jared Goff was the bottleneck there. I think that was as far as it could go. That was the piece you have to replace to bring that offense to the next level. Johnson, incredible coach, offensive line, one of the best in the league, great playmakers on the receiving groups, great playmakers at tight end, great playmakers at running back. So there wasn't much to upgrade except for Jared Goff. Now, the complete opposite, Caleb Williams is more of like, I guess this could be a good analogy, could be wrong, but you'll get what my point is he's more of like the flywheel for the Bears. The bigger and faster that, Williams goes, the better that the Bears goes. So funneling all of these resources as far as coaching, hires, and everything into Caleb Williams, that's the maximizer for the Bears, is getting Caleb Williams better and better and better. Where Jared Goff was the bottleneck, the quarterback was the bottleneck position for the Lions, it is the way to the future for the Bears. So I think everything they're doing with Williams is really smart. It's showing that Johnson, he can adapt. He can do different kinds of offenses where he had to run an offense around Jared Goff. He runs the offense through Caleb Williams, or at least it seems this way so far with these hires and the game planning we're seeing so far in Chicago. I'm really excited about this. And like you said, great hires, great start to Johnson's tenure. I'm really excited what we're seeing from the Bears so far.